Hi, this is Mike from Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and today we're going to take a look at a pre-release sample of the new Sahara C501. Keep watching to find out more. Okay, so today's video we're going to be taking a look at a pre-release sample of the Sahara 501 gaming case. Now this is something a little bit different from Sahara. It's actually improved in a lot of areas. There's a few areas that still need tweaking, so this is why this is a pre-release sample that they've sent to me for review purposes. And they just wanted to get my idea of what I thought of the case, the pros, cons, etc, etc. So I thought what I'd do is go around the case with you guys, and you can let us know in the comment section what your thoughts are, what you'd change, any improvements you'd like to see, prices, all those kinds of things. Anyway, with that out of the way, let's get on with it. So what is this? This is a MIDI tower case and has the facility to have up to 3 140mm fans up front behind this panel. Now we don't have a mesh panel on this, which for some of you is going to be unforgivable and you're going to turn off straight away. But actually there's plenty of ventilation. Even though this is a completely solid front, there is ventilation down both sides and at the bottom as well, so plenty of air to get in there. And also you can, if you want to, you can remove those 3 fans and replace it with a 360mm radiator. So again, lots and lots of cooling compatibility. There's tons and tons of room in here. It is a slightly wider chassis than normal, obviously because those 140mm fans, and also it has the option to mount in there a vertical GPU. So a little bit bigger, a little bit wider, loads and loads of cooling options. So let's take a look and see what it's like. So first of all, obviously this front panel, we've got this kind of nice, almost silvery type front panel. It does blend in quite nicely, but it is a slightly different shade than the rest of the case, which I actually personally like. And it's got this really nice angular design on the side. So if you have got some RGB fans in there, if you decide to remove the ones that are included, a little bit of RGB will spill out along this section here, and also from the bottom. So if I take the front panel off, you can see the fans that are situated behind. And the front panel on this one comes off relatively easily. And as you can see inside, we've got plenty of room there. So if you did want to mount these fans further forward in front of this mesh area, you can do. There is supposedly a magnetic filter which attaches to this front section, which unfortunately wasn't sent to me in this pre-production sample, but hopefully when this actually comes to the full market version, you will get that included. Ventilation, as you can see, is handled by these slits on the side, and there's also a grab handle on the bottom, also with more ventilation. Again, this open section for the grab handle isn't a problem when the filter is installed, but obviously as it is at the moment, that is completely wide open and possibly will attract some dust, but hopefully that's going to be remedied, so we won't worry too much about that at the moment. As you can see, got these 3 fans. I've actually chosen to mount the fans behind this grill, just so you can see what it's like. And of course you can, if you want to, you can mount these fans in front. There are pass-throughs in actually really good areas, so you can put the cables through. So if you've got RGB fans, if you've got 2 wires, then again you can put those through there nice and easily. So all in all, on this front section, yeah, loads and loads of flexibility. 140mm fans, 120mm fans, 360mm radiator, 280mm radiator, etc, etc. You get the general idea. Moving around to the side section, we've got this full-size tempered glass panel with a nice trim around the side, so you don't have to see the kind of metal panels, etc, etc. Very good, very strong. It's actually a 4mm panel. It actually does feel extremely heavy. It's very good quality, and it's held on with 2 thumb screws on the back, and is actually on a mounting system on a rail, so relatively easy to get off. Looking inside, it is pretty cavernous. As you can possibly see already, if I angle this around a little bit more, there is also a RGB 140mm fan pre-installed in the case as well. That has got its own RGB controller in, also has a pass-through as well, so you can connect up to a 5V 3-pin header on your motherboard. But if you don't have one, it's not a problem. You can just put an older motherboard in here and you can use the button on the front to control the RGB. Unfortunately, the fans are all Molex fans, which is a little bit of a downside. They are relatively quiet. They're not silent by any means, but they're very low noise. So again, because of being 140mm fans, they do rotate a little bit slower and are therefore a little bit quieter. But it's really nice to see a case come straight out of the factory with 4 140mm fans straight out the gate, and with one of them being RGB, I think it's actually really good. Twisting it around a little bit more, you can see the inside a little bit better. So this bottom section, we've got a rather nice PSU basement and hard drive basement. A little bit of a cutout there, so if you have a RGB power supply or you've got a particularly nice branded power supply, that will come through on the side there. And we've got loads of area here. I like to see this solid. This for me works really well. I much prefer a solid basement with just a couple of punch outs For me, that works really well. Also, it's quite handy for dust keeping duties, that kind of thing. Also, at the back there, we've got our mounting area for the vertical GPU mounting or traditional horizontal, however you wish to do it. And you've got tons and tons of room for motherboards in here. This will support up to the largest ATX form factors, and the mounting pillars are all pre-installed, ready to go. ATX boards are probably going to be your best bet, a full-size ATX board, but again, you can put in there pretty much what you want. There are these cutout channels here, which you can use in various ways. You can use them to route through your power cables, your SATA cables, that kind of thing. But also you can use them for an area to mount your SSDs. So you've got SSD mounting areas here, so you can mount them on there nicely and have the cables either through this side or through this side, whichever you choose. At the top of the case, again, nice big punch out. So if you are using a water cooling solution in the top, you can actually put a 280mm radiator in this top section. There's a huge gap between the top of the motherboard and the top of the case, so even some of the fat boy radiators, such as the Arctic cooling ones, you're going to fit in there with no problems whatsoever. Of course, if you want to, you can just put in another 120mm fan, two 120mm fans, two 140mm fans. You get the general idea. There's plenty of room up there. And also on the top, you've got this removable magnetic filter, which I guess is probably what we should have had as well for the front section, but again, that wasn't included in my sample. Moving back to this front section, where you've got the fans there, the cutout in this bottom basement section is a little bit shallow, so if you are doing a radiator combo in there, you will definitely need to have the fans on the front. You won't get the fans and the radiator behind this section, so again, do take that into consideration. Cable management wise, from the top I/O panel, it's all channeled through quite nicely at the top. It is exposed slightly, but it does go through to a nice pass-through on the top, so you've got no issues there. But overall, inside, no complaints whatsoever. Plenty of room, especially for that water cooling in the top section. Plenty of room for water cooling in the front. Vertical GPU mount, which will take up to, realistically, a 2.5 bay device. It has got 3 punch outs or PCI Express plates on the back, but I think if you use the third one, a really big fat card, it is going to be a little bit close to the tempered glass on the side. So most cards are going to be absolutely fine, but do bear that in mind. Also at the front, there is a channel at the bottom here, at the basement. So if you do want to run some RGB strips around there, you can put those in there and they will be actually nicely hidden and covered up. And also because the tempered glass had that little edge around it as well, you're not going to be dazzled by the LEDs directly, and they'll diffuse nicely along this side basement. Moving around to the back of the case, you've got your usual things. So you've got your I/O panel here, 140mm fan, as we said earlier, which is RGB. You can, if you want to, remove that and put in a 120mm fan, should you wish to. But again, because it comes supplied with them, you're probably better off leaving them in there. Although, if the whole Molex thing is something you just cannot bear, then obviously you are free to change those if you wish. And as you can see on this back, we've got this big chunk here, which is your spare room for where your radiator is going to go in the top. Again, loads of room between the radiator or fans in the top and your motherboard. PCI Express blanking plates, unfortunately, are the captive ones that have to be bent out, which is a little bit unfortunate, although there was 2 in here which are normal removable ones, and also for this PCI Express vertical mounting bracket, there are 2 removable or non-captive bays. Also, this is on the thumb screw for easy removal, so you just undo that thumb screw and this whole section comes out. It's actually pretty strong as well. The whole thing is actually made of a really nice gauge steel, which is really nice to see. With that out of the way, gives you easy access to the screws on the side of here, so if you are putting in PCI Express cards or a horizontal graphics card, nice and easy access to there, so you don't have to fiddle around too much. And then you can just, when you're done, put this back in, put it into place, and with the thumb screw, just attach it. And even on a relatively stupid angle, it still goes in there relatively easily. Moving down to the bottom, we've got our power supply area, which is your normal ATX size power supply, and you can put an absolutely huge power supply in here. There's tons and tons of room in the bottom, both widthways and lengthways, but we'll take a look at that as we move around. But before we move around, let's take a quick look at the accessories box, which I pulled out and have completely ignored. So we get a really nice accessories kit in this, which is actually something which I've not seen in a lot of cases these days. Some of the really expensive ones, yes, but not on a relatively mid-range case. So in this we get some Velcro straps for cable management, which is always nice to see. You get your screws and standoffs. You also get some cable management and also a GPU bracket. So this is really nice if you have got a horizontal card in there, and this will support up to, I think it's 380mm GPUs, which is absolutely huge. But obviously with that kind of size comes weight, so it comes with this really nice GPU bracket, which you can just loosen off and adjust top and bottom. And there's also rubberized pads in there, so it's not to short circuit on anything, because this is actually metal. Comes pre-applied with self-adhesive on there, And also in the pack are additional adhesives, so if you choose to move it at some point, you can just peel it off, start fresh. Absolutely brilliant. Also included are these cable management channels, which again are self-adhesive, so you can stick those on the back wherever you want to. There are 2 already installed. These are a spare 2, again to help with that cable management. We'll take a look at those as we go round. Also, you get your installation manual, instructions, etc., as you'd expect. And also it tells you how the Bullseye fans work. The Bullseye is the branding of these Sahara fans, and basically you can daisy chain them if you want to. There is Molex connector and a kind of Bullseye type connection on there. So moving around to the back panel. The back panel again held on with thumb screws, as you'd expect these days. And the back panel itself is actually quite rigid. Again, very good quality steel used in this. And in this section we've got tons and tons of room, loads of room for cable management. There's a depth of around about 15 millimeters in the back here, so most cabling is going to be absolutely fine. Tons and tons of punch outs and also mounting areas for cable ties, etc. And you can see these pre-installed cable management sections. And you can get an idea of the depth that you've got back here, because obviously those are quite chunky and they fit on here, so there is a relatively good amount of room between these and the back panel, so no issues there. All the cabling is done quite nicely in this blacked out cabling, apart from when you get to the ends on some of these, which are a little bit bare, but again, those are going to be towards the bottom, so that's not going to be too much of an issue. Connectivity wise, we've got the 3 Molex connectors, unfortunately, for the front mounted fans, but for some people that is going to make installation easier, because you can just daisy chain these together and forget about it. You don't have to worry about connecting out to your motherboard at all, and those will just get on and do their own thing. They spin around about 1200 RPM, which isn't particularly noisy, but I would personally prefer them to be 1000 RPM or maybe 800 RPM, just to make them pretty much silent. Other connectivity we've got our HD audio connector, USB 3.0 and USB 2.0, and then you get your usual connectors here, which is your hard drive LED, power LED, etc, etc. Moving back to this fan in the rear, so we've got the what they call the Bullseye type fan, and you've also got a connector there for daisy chain them if you get a few of them. There is also a pass-through for RGB lovers, so addressable RGB you can connect up to most motherboards, MSI, ASRock, etc, etc. And also it splits off into the slightly less common VDG connection, which is your 3-pin addressable RGB, which was generally tend to be used on some of the older Gigabyte boards. Again, unfortunately, to power the fan itself and also all the RGB stuff is on a Molex connector. So again, personally, I would quite like to see this case come as a bare case without any fans at all, to give the end user the flexibility of choosing what they want to do. Hopefully they'll do 2 SKUs of this, one without and one with. I have actually spoken to them and made some other suggestions about possibly including some of the Sahara Pirate fans, the ones that come with the remote control and all that kind of stuff. But again, I think to keep things simple, it would be quite a nice thing to have that as an option. And again, they could even kit it out with kind of 4 or 6 fans if they wish. Moving down to the bottom section, the basement area, again, loads of room for a power supply. You've got little foam pads on there to prevent any kind of vibrations and wobbles, all that kind of stuff. Also, you've got room for 3 HDDs, hard disk drives in there, so 3.5-inch drives, you can fit 3 in there. And also on the top, there's an area where you can mount another 2.5-inch drive. So drive-wise, there's loads and loads of options. You can put 2 SSDs in the front, 1 in there, plus 3 hard disk drives, so that's 6 drives in total. From what I've seen from some of the promotional literature as well for this, which I'll be putting up on the screen, there are also an option to put another 2 SSD trays here, which was shown in the picture, which hopefully you've seen now or is on the screen now. So again, if you wanted to have even more SSDs, you can put them on there. So that would give you a total of 8 drives, which is pretty phenomenal. So let's move around to the bottom of the case. So on the bottom, we've got this thumb screw. Undo that, and then you can remove the drive cages in there, which is all on these nice rubber grommets, and that just comes out nice and easily. So for installing your new drives, etc., very easy to do. Or if you just want a ton of room in the bottom for, I don't know, some kind of power supply with loads and loads of connections on, you can just remove that in its entirety. This is a little bit of a letdown in my opinion, but it's something we're quite used to seeing now. These kind of mesh filters, absolutely fine, they do the job they're intended to, but it would have been nicer to see it on a removable sled of some sort, or some sort of cartridge system where you can just push it in. Again, not really the end of the world. Got some really nice chrome feet and also rubberized pads on there to keep it nice and stable on your desk. So yeah, overall, not too bad on the bottom. Moving up to the top, we've got the removable magnetic filter, as we said before. Got this nice honeycomb mesh, and you can put in 120 or 140mm fans in there, or radiators, etc, etc. So 280mm radiator on there is going to give you an immense amount of cooling. IO-wise, power button, reset button, RGB LED button, USB 2, headphone, microphone, another USB 2, and a single super speed USB 3.0, which again is a little bit of a downside, but depending on what price they actually finalize this on, that is going to make a lot of this either relevant or not relevant. If this case is in the, I would say, probably around about 50 to 60 pounds mark, I think they've pretty much nailed it. If it's a little bit more expensive, 70, maybe 80 pounds, even though it is a fantastic construction and loads of flexibility, there's some seriously good competition on the market at the moment, especially around that price point. Again, if there's multiple SKUs with various options, that is going to open this case up to a lot of people. Personally, I'm very looking forward to doing a build in this. I am considering removing the fans altogether, although I have actually put a test system in here, which was the Intel i7-6700K, which is a little bit of a thermonuclear beast. And even with that run-in with a GTX 1070, ambient temperatures with the fans connected as normal, we were looking about 2 or 3 degrees above ambient, which is absolutely fantastic. So definitely plenty of airflow in there, and even under highest load, it still maintained very, very good temperatures. Again, this is a pre-production sample, so I haven't gone kind of full out testing wise, but I will be putting another motherboard in here, maybe a more modern AMD setup, and seeing what it performs like. But overall, I think this is actually one to look out for. So I will try and put some links in the video description below so you can check out for yourself in your local areas. But please do let me know in the comment section, what do you think of this case? Do you like the look of it? Do you like the setup? Are you impressed with the 3 140mm fans pre-installed in there? Is this going to be enough airflow for you with that solid front? Let me know your comments. I'm really interested to see what you think of this case. So this has been the Sahara C501 MIDI desktop case with tons and tons of cooling. I've been Mike, this is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and hopefully we'll catch you in the very next video. Thanks for watching.